Hello, this is Lama from Beirut.com. Welcome to Beirut Buzz, our new podcast where we talk about everything happening around the country and just topics that we find interesting that we hope you find interesting too. With me today is Taleen. You guys will recognize that name if you're a follower of Beirut.com. She is one of our editors and content creators, and she's here today to talk a little bit about her experience of being a Lebanese student in Germany, as well as a topic that's very near and dear to her heart, which is misogyny, sexism. So let's get started. Hey, Taleen, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Good. If you are readers of the website, that you'll recognize her name. She's been a writer with Beirut.com for, I want to say 5 months.
I think so, since January.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right in. So you used to study in Berlin, right?
In Düsseldorf, actually, yes. I was there for 9 months.
And then you had to come back because of the banking crisis?
Yeah, there was a big issue with تحويلة الدولار, and I didn't want to put my parents through that. So I came back. I continued with LAU.
So what happened? Like the one day just they stopped allowing the money transfers, and then did somebody from like administration come to talk to you and say, we're so sorry, you're Lebanese or something?
The thing is, when you go to Germany, you have your bank account set up for an entire year. And I had a certain amount in the bank account. As soon as they started to run out, I was left with barely a few scraps to let me survive like a few more months. So when I tried to get money from Lebanon, from my dad, it wasn't working. All of the cards I had, like my for transactions, I couldn't make any transactions anymore. Whenever I went to the grocery store, I can't make transactions because there aren't any funds available.
That's so rough.
I had to be in contact with the embassy so they could help me get an emergency flight back to Lebanon through like the COVID flights that were happening in May, because I didn't really have any other option. So I felt like it was best to just come back and just transfer everything back here.
That's really rough. So did they pay for the flight?
No.
Oh my God.
They told us we would have a student discount, and I ended up paying maybe like €1,000.
Like double?
Yeah, because we had to pay for 2 seats on the flight because of COVID regulations, and I did end up sharing the seat right next to me, so I just paid for someone's seat, basically.
Are you kidding? It
was really a disaster. It was a disaster.
So I like listen to stories like yours, you know, like you had your kind of educational path planned out and you went to Germany, you were learning so much and, you know, becoming engrossed in this new culture. And then like literally Riyad Saleme decides that no,
not for you.
Not for you. Taleen can't do it. Bring her back. It feels like that. I know like it's way more complicated, but it kind of feels like that, right? It kind of feels like a bunch of these crooks, like the warlords and the bankers literally were like, we're going to fuck it up. We're not going to fix it. And fuck it, like fuck their lives. They could just come back.
Like you're stuck in this loop, no matter how far you think you're going. Like hatta even if I did continue my education, I was going to run through another brick wall at some point, and I'd have to come back. Whether it be for my family or any other reason. So it was honestly like one of the hardest things students had to go through Halfatra. I know so many people that left during the same time I did, and they also had to come back because of the same reasons. But alhamdulillah, I was lucky enough to be able to enroll on time with LAU and continue my education. Didn't have
That's a really nice outlook. I mean, personally, I feel like I'm such a, how do you say, like I'm somebody who holds such a grudge that I would have camped outside Riyad Saleme. I feel like I would have done something crazy. Like I can't with this kind of injustice. Living in Lebanon at this point is so difficult because of these daily injustices that are just happening, and we're just expected to take it on the chin and adapt and mold and we've gotten really good at that, but at the same time it's inconceivable, you know?
Yeah, I get it. like being abroad, like just watching everything roll out in your country, not being able to do anything, kamen, like that had its fair share of like it took such a huge toll, kamen. Like I left a week after the revolution started, and everyone was like really mshajja, everyone paid bijjaw, and like for the first time everyone was really trying to do something. بس إجا هالوقت I had to leave. So the entire time it was like an issue of homesickness come in that made me more or less okay with coming back, because I got to see my family وقلت إنه خلاص we'll be back with Thawra, everything's gonna go back to normal, مش حيبقى الوضع هيك. بس إنه it's been maybe a year since, today is exactly 1 year since my flight. My flight was on May 6th.
Oh, wow.
So it's been an entire year since I've been waiting for things to go back to normal.
Oof. What was that like? I would want to know, like, you said you left right when Thawra happened. It was October and November that Lebanon kind of overtook global media. There was so much attention on Lebanon and everything that was happening. Were you the type that was like staying in tune and in touch, or were you completely disconnected?
No, I tried my best to stay as in touch as possible. I tried to always like be engaged in politics and all of the news, everything that was going on in Lebanon, because I didn't want to lose touch with that when I left. Because you don't stop being Lebanese as soon as you leave the country. As hard as we try to let go of everything, it's really impossible. I think that was probably my biggest issue when I left, like being so hung up on what was going on, specifically because there was a revolution going on. I think that's what really made it so much harder for me to stay in Germany. When I knew there was a flight back, I bought the ticket, but a second thought, I just bought it and came back. Because you just feel like you're really missing out. Like at the time, had I known it would have ended this way, maybe I would not have made the decision. But right now, I think I'm fine now.
Yeah,
you just honestly don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we're like stuck every day, and there's like I think 1,000 possibilities every day of how this could turn out. And I think that's what the most kind of confusing part is, because I have all my childhood friends are left the country at various times. So some of them 5 years ago, and then some of them a couple of years ago, and then I find that they're in this always kind of wait and see, where they want to have a project in Lebanon, but they're not quite sure when the right time is. And I think Thawra also was so momentous that I had friends who wanted to fly back for Thawra, and they did, because they felt like this is it, this is the turning point, and if we're not there, it's gonna be awful. And so I literally had like 2 people who flew in and went to the protests, and we were all on such a high that the crash afterwards was so severe. We got like a huge like hangover almost, because everyone was so hopeful, and so I can't imagine what it was like. You're in Germany, your phone is blowing up with like all these pictures, and people doing the unthinkable, like they're cursing this guy on the street, and they're going up to this guy's house. It was so how do you say,
you just feel left out.
Yeah, you feel left out, and you feel disconnected, and you just want to be home. And then when you're home, you're like, fuck, this kind of sucks.
Because I didn't really have time to like adapt to what was going on. I was supposed to get my visa in September, because universities in Germany start on the 1st of October. I got the visa on October 28th, so I was like already a month late, and they told me on a Friday, and the Monday after I had to go get my visa, and Wednesday was my flight. So I didn't really have time. I was so like invested in Thawra and what was going on, and trying to make the best out of everything. And then suddenly I was told I had to leave. So it came as a really big shock, just having to leave in the middle of everything and feeling like you could have been part of something big that was going on. So it was really heartbreaking. It was really difficult, especially like when you come across Lebanese people abroad in Germany. They were so disconnected from what was going on. Maybe specifically the people I knew there, they just didn't want to have anything to do with Lebanon in terms of like their future. They wanted to be part of Thawra. They did it in their own way. But as much as I was invested, it never felt like they had the same energy, maybe because I had to leave all of a sudden. But it was really difficult to adapt.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to being disconnected. I find that in a way it's like some people say it's worse being here, and then others say it's worse being abroad and being, having to stay in touch. And I feel like being abroad and being hit by these kind of news headlines all the time, it's exhausting unless you make a conscious effort to disconnect and be like, I'm not in Lebanon right now. I cannot be listening to what every guy is saying and, what the protesters are doing, because it became like micro coverage almost, So things that happen every day were covered on such a blown up scale, like people gathered under this building. And it's like, routinely these things would happen. People would gather, but because there was such a media focus on Lebanon, which of course I was very happy for, and I was very disheartened afterwards when there was no media coverage. Everybody kind of just agreed to drop it and say, fuck it, let's just keep these three people in power and we're not going to do anything. فصارت انه عم بيصير قصص كتير بلبنان ونحن عم نشوفهم عم نقطع بيناتهم، وفي يعني او تسكير طرقات او في ناس عم بيجربوا يعملوا شيء بالوزارات وهيك وما حدا عم يحكي عنهم. Very consciously it happened. So yeah, I do understand these people who are abroad and who just want nothing to do with the news. It's exhausting.
It's very tiring, especially like أول فترة of Thawra. There was a lot of coverage in Germany because apparently Lebanese people are infamous there. ما بعرف it's because they're obsessed with our food or something, that they really wanted to broadcast what was going on in Lebanon. But any news site or channel that I opened up that was German, they would be talking about what's going on in Lebanon. And like no matter how hard I tried to just get out of it, something would always pop up, whether it be Lebanese friends or like people from Lebanon contacting me, telling me what's going on, or Twitter or even German channels. They were broadcasting everything. But I think the thing that like hit hardest was being on Lebanese Twitter and trying to be engaged with what's going on and being told that you're diaspora, you're abroad, don't get involved, this is no longer your concern. And I think a lot of people that were living abroad had to go through this for a while because they kind of invalidated what it was like to be outside of Lebanon and see everything going on and really being heartbroken because you can't be a part of it.
I mean, I agree. I think that's still going on. So منشوف ناس على تويتر عم يحطوا شيء مثل إنه حرام ليك قدي صار نسبة الفقر بلبنان، بقوم دغري واحد بيترجم إنه are you enjoying Massachusetts? But
exactly.
But I feel bad. I'm kind of one of these people who's like I don't mean either be here or there, but I don't think I would have felt that way towards you. I feel like it is a particular subset of people who have a political opinion where it's like it's very specific. It's the fact that if you are somebody who supports this regime, then you should be here because you should be living the ramifications of everything they've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
Yeah, but if you're somebody who opposes the regime, then I'm so happy to have you chime in and stuff. But if you're going to sit abroad in your nice areas with your fucking metro and your fucking sandwich shops, I don't even know what I'm talking about. بس إنه إذا حتقعدوا بشي محل كتير متحضر وكتير حلو وبدكم تجوا تقولوا لي إنه لا the عونية أو the قوات أو the حريري, whoever, all of them are incredible people and we should respect them. Like, okay, fucking come live with them then, because
exactly.
You don't know what it's really like until you're here.
That's the problem when there are people that are actually disconnected and they try to reconnect, but in all the wrong ways. And I think that's the issue when you see someone that's abroad, you just automatically assume that this is their intention.
So what's the German obsession with the food?
I think it's shawarma, rightfully so, yani. But the Lebanese shawarma in Germany is horrible. It's not shawarma. It's good, but it's not shawarma.
What is it?
It's خبز وجاج what they think is garlic. I don't think they know what garlic really is.
Okay.
It doesn't taste anything like shawarma.
Like a kebab or something.
I think they think it's Lebanese, but they make it in a Turkish way. So it was really, really disappointing.
Yeah, I never understand that because there are so many Lebanese people in Germany. And I understand part of it is like the produce and the spices, but
yeah,
we're fucking shipping drugs across the countries. We can't ship a kilo of spice. I don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So when you were abroad, did you feel like you were the type that was mostly befriending Lebanese people and Arabs?
At first, I tried to not befriend Lebanese people and Arabs. I wanted to stay away as much as possible. Because
why?
I didn't want to be associated with, I know this is wrong, but being associated with the stereotypes that were present in Germany, I tried to stay away. And I also didn't, I'm going to a country where there are things that I can do that I probably couldn't do in Lebanon. I would have preferred not to stay connected to people that are still hung up on what they think is acceptable. So there's things that Germans couldn't give less of a shit about, and it was so refreshing to be able to feel the least bit of freedom whenever I spoke about something that I couldn't really express so bravely if I were in Lebanon, if I were talking to someone that was Lebanese or Arab, because they do withhold this little conservatism or مش تعصب بس بيضبوا على بعض, and they create their own little community. And I didn't leave Lebanon to go sit in a little Lebanon outside of the country.
Yeah, I get you. So why is it that you didn't want to be associated? Are you talking about the stereotypes of being an Arab and what that means?
It's just being Lebanese in Germany, because not a lot of people know that the biggest mafia in Germany that Germans hate is Lebanese.
You're
so
kidding.
I feel like they just have a real dislike. Whenever I'd introduce myself to someone and be like, "Hi, I'm Lebanese," and be like, they would just step back for a second and be like, "Lebanese." And I didn't know what it meant at first until one of my friends actually told me the biggest mafia that everyone dislikes in Germany is a Lebanese mafia.
Oh my God, what did they do?
Freaked me out at first. First, they were actually a little scared, maybe, because they probably thought I had an association with whatever this mafia was doing there.
Hold on, I'm Googling it. I'm seeing what... Oh my God, if you just type in Lebanese Ma, it does Lebanese Mafia Berlin.
Exactly, that's the one. It was kind of annoying. At first, I didn't understand what was going on. But then whenever my German friends would introduce me to other people, or when they talk about me and I wasn't there, and they'd be like, "Oh, she's Lebanese? Are you sure that's okay?" It got really annoying at some point, and that's when I actually started looking for more Lebanese and Arab people to speak to. You just feel disconnect on both sides.
Oh my God! So they do grand theft. So 100 kilos of gold coin and what the hell? Oh, a huge coin? I'm not understanding this. They also run various areas of Berlin, and this is really rough. So apparently they arrested them in their 18, 19, and 20. And to me, that's how is that a mafia age? You're just a child. Okay, well, it's nice to be famous, I guess. Keeping the name clear. Send you this picture of the Lebanese clan. Apparently, a TV drama 4 blocks in Berlin.
I started watching it. It was actually a bit too hard because it felt so accurate. Like the characters were all like true to like their Arab roots, and they were speaking correctly, and they were cursing the right way. So it really hit hard. They were like able to represent it so accurately, and I kind of felt bad that we just had this horrible reputation. بالآخر like انجبرت to look for Lebanese people, بس هيك لاحظت إنه I wasn't so disconnected from like the German community there.
Oh, it's I never knew this. We're learning this together. I mean, you already knew it, but I thought like the reaction that I get when I go to Europe and then I'm like, oh, I'm Lebanese. They're like, oh, Lebanese, like. And then they'll say something super cliched and I don't mind it. Or some people like, oh, I visited Beirut. I love blah, blah, blah. So it's all good. But I didn't know we had this reputation. I thought we had like a war reputation, which completely makes sense. But
at one point, there were some Europeans that asked me if we lived naked in the jungle and went to school on camels. That was also really surprising. I think that's worse than being known for having the hugest mafia in Germany. It was really
surprising. That jungles and camels are coexisting in this.
حتى like basic geography, they're not aware of.
Well, much love to our German listeners because we have so many. We have none. So the next thing we're going to talk about today, we kind of went off topic, but I think we can come up with a smooth segue into the next section, which is first I want to hear about like you're a young woman, obviously, and then you grew up your entire life in Lebanon, right?
Yeah.
And then when you went to Germany, I'm assuming you felt within quotations freer.
I did, because it was like a different things that they felt were okay and acceptable, and whenever I told them these things were not as okay where I'm from, they would be a little bit surprised, but then again it is the stereotype, so they'd be like, oh, okay, it's fine, you can do what you want here, أكيد within the limits, because عندهم also some conservatism or overall إنه احترام للناس الغيرهم وهيك. بس at least when I would present myself as a woman, I would not be as concerned with experiencing sexist stereotypes as badly as I would in Lebanon. Doesn't mean they don't exist there. They're still very sexist, just not to the certain same extent like in Lebanon.
Yeah, it's different flavors of sexism everywhere. So in Lebanon, we suffer like deep institutional misogyny and sexism. I don't know if I said racism before. I was supposed to say sexism, but my brain is a little wonky today. But I'm talking about sexism in Lebanon being this kind of dual force of institutional and very societal. And I don't know if this is still the case that like women can't open bank accounts for their kids without the husband signing off and all of this stuff. I would have to look into that, but that's on the institutional side. Of course, along with everything else, like getting your paperwork done and having it all be like either your partner, your spouse, or your dad or something like that. And all of that, and then
even like permission to travel, passing down nationality.
What's this issue with the permission to travel?
When I submitted my application, I needed like a permission form that my dad had to sign on to make sure that I'm leaving with his approval. Even though I was 19 at the time, so I was a legal adult, I still had to submit the permission form.
ما في legal adult بلبنان. في male or female that like you are incapacitated if you're a female. I wonder what age that expires. I would guess like 21, but I'm really hoping, because I don't think that's true. But yeah, things like this, it's so ridiculous. And then you think to yourself, because I know you on a personal level, I know how you think, you're probably like outraged that your dad has to sign this thing, but at the same time, you really want to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So you're like, fine, I'll fucking sign the thing, because you don't want to make a statement.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Like you have to deal through these things because you're really forced to, and you just want to get this over with. I know, like من تحت لتحت, you just feel like this is really not going to change, especially like when it's institutionalized, you feel like خلاص, it's inherently there. It's really going to be way too hard to remove within the time span that you're going to be like موجودة بلبنان and alive and well. So you just feel like you have to deal with it to get over it. But like on the social level, I can still say and do what I want, to أعترض على what I want. Just when it comes to legal things, مضطرة أتحمل and like go through it.
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit more about like on the societal level, because I had this kind of notion, and the new generation is super flexible and open-minded, and I hate using the term open-minded because it suggests that it is some form of like on-off switch.
Exactly, it's like something you put on in the morning.
Yeah.
And just
But for lack of better word, that there is a faction of people who really believe in gender equality and really shun sexism and stuff. And then I realized I was in such an echo chamber. I had effectively alienated everyone who didn't think the way that I think out of my life. And it's so evident by the way I lead my personal relationships. Anyone that I get like a whiff of this kind of misogyny from, I completely shun from my life. So I'm not surrounded by it at all, which is also very dangerous because I've gotten to a point where I've forgotten that it exists until I'm face to face with it, you know?
Yeah, I completely understand. Because Anna, like for the most part, when in school, like people used to think I was a feminazi. They would call me that because I was always like very vocal about these things. And I would try to like compel people or like convince them that I'm not making this argument to like turn the whole system into a matriarchy. At some point I just stopped trying لأنه في ناس قالوا لي إنه مين أنت لتربيهم, and that actually hit a lot harder than I expected it to be. لأنه بالآخر خلاص I'm not gonna be putting so much effort in trying to change people. So بالآخر I also started shunning everyone that did not really agree with me or just wasn't on the same frequency as I was. إنه بدي ريح حالي. وat the same time whenever I confront هالأشياء بنقز لأنه I've been so separated from it for like the longest time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same for me. But I want to go back to like the feminazi issue, because I feel like there's a growing trend, and I'm purely basing this off of one thing I saw on TikTok. So I'm clearly not a very credible source, but this is how I'm seeing things. I'm seeing that there is a group of people, and women in particular, that have become very allergic to this kind of feminist left-wing identity. And they've gone so far to the other side just to make a point. So we call these pick-me girls, if you've heard that term. And so you have all these really educated. So this is not something where we could say, it's an educational gap or anything like that. It's people that hang out the same places we hang out. It's just, it can be chalked up to a difference of opinion. But what I would chalk it up to is this complete rejection of an identity that has been contorted to be so stereotypical and so ridiculous and not rooted in anything real, that it has taken on a new life of itself. So you have the pick-me girls, an example of what they would do or say, or is like, I'm a woman, but I'm so against women having body hair. And I think it's disgusting. And honestly, you should shave. So regardless of everyone's personal habits, the idea behind saying something like that is to vilify women who have worked really hard to fight gender norms and to help you not be based on your grooming habits and not have you be assessed as to whether or not you're shaven or not. And we can talk for hours, I think, about how this is all part of controlling women and keeping women, this, like, we've heard all these arguments. But this particular subset of women comes exactly as a reaction to what you said about being quote unquote feminazi, where you're standing here and you are put on the offensive, or defensive rather, where you have to sit there and be like, no, I'm not, I love men, and you have to prove, and you like men, and you have to prove that you don't fucking hate all men. And I've gone to points like, fuck you, I hate all people. You're all terrible, and why am I defending you? Why am I wasting my time here?
Pick-me girls in particular are like a whole type of breed. I know sometimes I do try to sit down and try to understand like the point behind what they're doing. And like, really, what is it exactly? Is it because you want to feel like you have a different standpoint? Is it because you actually want male approval? Because I've seen different types of girls that indulge in this really toxic behavior, and I still can't pinpoint what exactly they're trying to get out of it. It's so tiring to have to deal with hikbaniyat, and then it's the girls in particular that are like this, but on social media or in front of certain groups of people, they'd be all about body positivity, all about letting women do whatever they want to do. But then they show this whole other side of being a pick-me girl, and just adds layers and layers of being so much worse.
I mean, what is it that they want? I have no idea. Like I said, I alienate everybody who's remotely like this. So I don't know. Maybe there is value in like branching out and kind of hearing what it is they have to say. But I feel like every argument that's made on that side is, feminazis and women that have taken on this role of like feminism and have become so extremist, you can't say anything anymore, and everything is so insulting, and not everything is about patriarchy, which is all well and good. You can argue that, sure, not everything is about the patriarchy. Many things are. An overwhelming amount of things are, I would say. But has it gotten to a point where, quote unquote, you can't say anything? I don't care in particular. I think that this came up during the Me Too movement, like, men can't even give women hugs anymore. It's like, first of all, why the fuck are you going around hugging people? What is wrong with you that you feel like you can no longer hug someone, and that you don't know the difference between a hug and rape? If you are finding the line between those two things blurry, then take a good look, bro.
And even when it comes to compliments, like some men would genuinely argue with like being on the street and being catcalled is like just a compliment. It's supposed to be a compliment, and they'd be like, we can't even compliment you anymore, we can't tell you you look good anymore. And it's frustrating that they really don't see the difference. And at this point, we've tried so many ways to show them the difference, and even argue with why it's all men, even though this is like a whole different topic that we can segue into. Just trying to convince them why we say all men, and it's not all men, and that hashtag is completely useless. Because when you feel like you are put in a situation where you feel like every single man that's going to come your way is potentially harmful to you, and is not going to understand the difference between what is acceptable and what isn't, then you're definitely going to just be afraid and just lock yourself out of it, and try as much as possible to stay away. And I've heard someone on their Instagram, they had an IGTV of them talking about why it's all men and why this argument is valid. When you're put in a pit of snakes, whether they're harmless or harmful, you're not gonna be checking each and every snake if they're gonna be harmful to you and bite you and actually kill you. You're going to see a pit of snakes and you're going to be scared regardless. So that I think that was a very compelling argument.
I would take it a step further, and I would say I understand that it is challenging to kind of be an adult male and wake up to all these realizations and wake up to this kind of renewed sense of awareness that people now have. I understand that things have been really, really easy for you for 30 years, and now someone's saying you can't hug your colleague and tell her she has a nice ass or whatever, and that's very troubling for you. I get it. My only thing is for the men who don't do this, who claim it's not all men and every man has been made a demon. I also get that. That's bothersome. It's similar to Arabs. We get very agitated when someone says Arabs are terrorists, so and so, blah blah blah. But when these men are hanging out with their bros and I feel like I have no idea how men hang out. Pesfi and den or chips or video game. I don't know. My reference points are like from Friends or something. But when they hear their bro say something fucking disgusting, do they say that's really creepy? No, I know most men feel weird. They just feel weird if they are such a good person that they really have, they're not misogynist, they're not sexist, they're perfectly nice people, and somebody says something awful in front of them, they feel weird standing up for women because they don't want to be seen as a loser or sensitive or a pussy.
Oh, there's a word for that now. We have pick-me girls and we have simps. So apparently a guy that's an ally is now called a simp for actually standing up for women. Which is really just mind-boggling. Like, it's so tiring at this point.
Oh, is that what simp means? I thought that meant something totally different.
Oh, did you? That's what I understood what it meant.
I don't know. I'm extremely old, so I'm going to take your word for it. Let's Google what simp means. A silly or foolish person. I think that's the technical word. Okay, so someone who does way too much for a person they like, most frequently a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like simps. What can I say? Simp out. I think the reason the pick-me girls are the most offensive to my palate is because it's this brand of I think the reason that this kind of brand of misogyny that comes from women is particularly distasteful is because just of the mere fact that it comes from another woman, as opposed to a man where I understand the rift in viewpoints. I understand how men don't understand, for the most part, the female condition or what women really go through. Or, like I remember when the Me Too movement started happening and the overwhelming response from men in my life was, there's no fucking way it's all these women got raped and assaulted. I'm like, I'm telling you, there is a fucking way. We've been women for this amount of time. Every girl since she was 9 years old. I think that the reason it's so offensive when it comes from a woman, this kind of internalized misogyny, which is why I find the pick-me girls completely, it's like I'm bewildered by them. I wouldn't even know where to start with them, is because I think that men, for the most part, they're being honest when they don't understand what it is to be a woman. So like when the Me Too movement happened, I was surrounded by men who were completely dead set on saying, there's no way all these women got raped. There's no way everyone got raped. And I was like, yeah, and I think that's why it was so normal for most women to be like, oh, of course I believe her. It's this shit has been going on. We're all exposed to it since we're kids. And every woman, from being an adolescent, even worse if before, and then all the way through your adulthood, you know how common this is. So, and you know how easy it is that this could happen, whether it's sexual assault or harassment or rape or anything of the kind. So I get that many men don't think this is real and are saying, oh, this could never be this bad and women are overreacting. Yeah, so that's what I think. I think we should do another episode on, do you know about incel culture?
I want to say no, but sadly I do.
Oh, that's a good answer. I really wish I didn't know about incel culture either. I got lost on like incel message boards once and it was...
Ouch, no.
It's scary. It's scary.
It is. لأنه عن جد في certain people that you just ما بتصدق إنه في people هيك, whether it's like incels or like حتى like pick me girls. Like, are you not living in the same reality we are? Are you not going through what we are? What reason do you have to feel the need to stand against people who have the same experience? that you're having?
Well, that's a good question to end the show on. So we're going to put out a call to all the pick-me girls. We know you don't think you're a pick-me girl, but if you have found yourself saying something like, not all men rape, or if you are saying something along the lines of, a woman's role being gentle and not cursing and taking care of the kids is a positive thing in society, and men work very hard and they need to make all the money. So if these things ring true to you, come on the show and let's talk about them. I want to hear what happened to you so that you are like this. Maybe you'll convince me. Maybe I'll be like you.
I feel like that would be a really fun episode.
Yeah. So call to all pick-me girls who don't identify as a pick-me girl. Come on the show. Email us, podcast@beirut.com. We'll be happy to have you on. Taleen, this has been such a great chat. I think the listeners really got kind of a good idea of who you are and what you're all about. And I'm hoping for more episodes down the line if you enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. This was super fun. Like I actually have the chance للتلي بحكي وأقعد فيش خلقي at least in the podcast, like being at home. So yeah, this was great.
Thank you so, so much. And be sure to listen to our other episodes on the channel and follow us on social media for more. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.